Hey, I'm Julie Kalen, your voice of happiness, and I am super excited to be back on camera again after my surgery recovery. And I'm doing very well, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to make a video on having a successful surgery recovery and giving you some of my surgery recovery tips for you, and specifically laparoscopic surgery, but some of these tips could apply to any surgery as well. And before I get into that, just wanted to thank all of my wonderful subscribers. You are appreciated so much. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so that you could see more videos from me on happiness and health and great music and voice as well. And also join a beautiful community of some of the kindest people I have ever met as my subscribers. So thank you, thank you. And without further ado, let's get to it. So my laparoscopic surgery recovery tips. And well, this was my second laparoscopic surgery that I had just in April of 2021. And the first one I had was like a year and a half before that in November of 2019, both on very large uterine tumors that I had. This last surgery, they removed 9 tumors from me. The first one that they did in 2019, they kept the tumors in, but they tried to treat them using heat. But unfortunately, that did not work the greatest for me. So I had to have the second surgery. And my experiences with the surgery were different in a lot of ways. So I'm going to tell you like what I did differently, because this surgery that I just had in April of 2021 went so much better for me. Actually, my recovery was a lot smoother. So I'm going to tell you a bit about what I did differently during the surgeries as well, and before, leading up to it, to prepare so that my recovery this last time was smoother than my first surgery. So I would say for having a successful surgery recovery, one of the key things that you could do is to prepare for the surgery. Of course, if it's an emergency surgery, there's not a whole lot you could do, and there's not a whole lot of choice you have as far as choosing a surgeon. But for me, when I had my surgery, especially the second surgery, I interviewed a ton of surgeons and a lot of doctors. Actually, I saw I think the count was 7 surgeons. And some of the doctors were like, why are you getting so many? Why are you getting so many opinions? Just pick one already. And, I didn't feel comfortable with the some of the earlier opinions that I had. I had some people telling me actually that, there was no way that my uterus could be saved and my tumors were too huge. And I just had to get a hysterectomy. And I'm like, I don't know. Is that really true or not? And I kept seeing more doctors, and I got varying different opinions. And, I wasn't feeling comfortable with, all the opinions that I was getting so far. I still had hesitation. And when you're going into a surgery, especially if it's more of an elective surgery, or at least a surgery that's not an emergency that you have to get done right away, take your time, see multiple doctors, even if people are like, trying to judge you on that, or just trying to be like, oh, pick one already, or trying to rush you. You want to be 100% comfortable with whatever choice you decide. And I knew when I interviewed that 7th surgeon and had an appointment that this is the surgeon I want to be with. This is the person I want operating on me. I felt so comfortable with, not only the bedside manner, but what they were telling me about the surgery. I mean, this 7th surgeon was like, not only is it not going to be a huge surgery where you have to stay overnight or anything, but you could, be home the same day. I'm going to treat these tumors, and you're going to keep your uterus, and you're going to be great. And, you could have kids after this. So, I was like, wow, this is wonderful. I just knew, speaking with him, he's like, you're not even going to spend time overnight in the hospital, fingers crossed. And I was like, yeah, sign me up for that. And it wasn't until that 7th surgeon, like I said, that I felt really comfortable and I got the best option. None of the other people gave me that option. Like I said, they were like, oh, your tumors are so big, you just need to get your uterus out, or it's going to be like a huge, like, open surgery and you're going to have to spend several days in the hospital. And I'm like, oh, I don't like that. So finally, the seventh was the lucky charm. So if you don't like what some doctors or surgeons are telling you, keep going to more, get different opinions until you are 100% comfortable with what they are telling you. And I know I mentioned this in a previous video, but it's super helpful if you get a PPO insurance rather than an HMO, because I have PPO insurance where I could choose which doctors that I see, which surgeons that I see. If I would have had an HMO, I'm not sure that I would have been able to get 7 opinions. So for me, with having, if you do experience health problems down the line and something serious and you need to get multiple surgeons input on what to do, I would definitely recommend having a PPO health insurance. It has been great for me, and I would not definitely want an HMO because I don't have that control and that flexibility, I don't think. So those are 2 things that I recommend for sure. PPO health insurance, interview lots of surgeons until you are comfortable with what they are telling you. And one thing that really helped me too with this second surgery to have a really great recovery was to be in good physical shape, the best physical shape that you are able to be. So with my surgery and my previous surgery, my first one in November of 2019, all of the brochures for the surgery and everything said, oh, this surgery is no big deal, and you're going to be back to your daily activities in a few days. So I was going into it like really confident, and I was like, oh, I don't need to do sit-ups or any core exercises or strengthen, my ab muscles. It's like, oh, this brochure says it's going to be a super easy surgery. But, going into it then, I really struggled with the recovery afterwards, because it was a lot harder than I thought it was and going to be. And I think a huge part of that was because I was not in the best physical shape that I could be in for that surgery. Even though it is laparoscopic surgery, they're cutting into your abdomen in several places, and you still need strength to heal. And yeah, for me, that was a huge thing. And I felt like so weak afterwards. And I was like, well, this brochure says I'm supposed to be doing so much better than I am. But it took me a long time to recover from that surgery. And I was getting frustrated. I'm like, is there something wrong with me? And I just think for me, I kind of went into it a little kind of cocky, thinking, oh, no big deal. So I guess lessons from that story is that, don't, necessarily believe everything that you read in the medical brochures on the procedure, because, their job is to inform you, but also to sell you on the procedure as well. So be educated about that. And also, though, be in the best shape that you can be, because it is definitely going to help you in the surgery. So I learned from that experience in my surgery in 2019. And for this surgery that I just had a couple months ago in 2021, before that surgery, I knew it was coming. I was working my core out like crazy. I not only my core, but I was, jogging a lot, being as best, jump roping before surgery, being in the best physical condition that I could be in. And really, working my butt off, exercising, because I said, I'm not going to go through that again. I'm going to exercise my core. So, and that made a huge difference. Even though my surgery in 2021 was a lot bigger surgery, actually. They did a lot more cutting. They took huge tumors out of me, 9 tumors, several the size of baseballs, it was a lot more invasive surgery than my one in 2019. It was a lot more tougher surgery on me. For the surgeons, need a lot more skills. It was a lot more invasive. They had to reconstruct my whole uterus, actually. And even though it was a lot tougher surgery for the doctors, and everything I read online actually said it was called a myomectomy. Everything I read online said this is going to be a horrible surgery. And I remember how rough like the easy surgery was for me. So I was going into it a bit a bit scared, but because I was in such good shape before the 2021 surgery, I did really, really well with the surgery in 2021 with my myomectomy. Like, I woke up from surgery. Of course, in the recovery, there's like the immediate pain where you're like, pain meds, please. But after that, in recovery, I actually did not take any pain meds at home or anything. I felt really strong. I was getting back to walking very quickly, and I was released from the hospital on the same day of surgery. And, I think a lot of that was because I was in very good physical condition before that. So, not only did I have an amazing surgeon, which is super important when you're having surgery too, but I was in very good physical condition. I was in such little pain at some points. I actually thought, I'm like, did they have to take my uterus out? Did they have to do a hysterectomy on me? Because I don't really feel anything in there. I don't feel pain. I asked the nurse, I said, am I okay? I'm feeling so little pain. I think she thought I was crazy, but she's like, yeah, she thinks the pain meds had worn off, and they're like, well, maybe the next couple days you'll feel it a little more. But for the most part, my recovery was a lot better. So I was like super pleasantly surprised by that as well. But of course, after surgery, when they sent me home, there are some pains you feel after a laparoscopic surgery. What it feels like is they pump so much air and gas into you so that they could see when they're looking at you through tiny holes. They pump you so full of gas and air, and you're swollen after the surgery too from all the work they did on you. You feel basically like a balloon that's been really blown up huge, and then it's been taped up with either like cellophane or duct tape in the middle. That's how you feel, because you're blown up with air, but you're stitched together tightly, and you're like taped together with all these bandages and everything. So it's definitely a very interesting push and pull feeling. So just be prepared if you've never had laparoscopic surgery to feel extremely huge for a number of days. Even for me, a few weeks. I felt really big, and I'm even a couple months after surgery now. I'm not down to my little size. So you're a lot more swollen than you think you'd be. Because it was interesting too, because they took like 5 pounds of tumors out of me, and about the size of bowling ball. But when I was so excited going into surgery that I was like, oh, by this evening I'm gonna feel like so much like skinnier and less pressure in me. But no, it was like I felt even bigger after getting home and after the surgery. And that's just because they took tons of tumors out, but they blew me up even bigger than the tumors were. So it was a very interesting experience as well. So that's something to definitely be aware of for laparoscopic surgery. And it takes, like I said, even a couple months after surgery. I'm not down to normal size yet. And especially those first few days you're gonna feel like you're gonna explode, but don't worry, you won't. I have not yet exploded from any of my surgeries, but it's definitely a very interesting and unique experience. And then what you have to worry about, just make sure that your stitches or sutures aren't infected, or your wounds. That's like the main thing you have to watch for, but I've never had a problem with that at all. And like I said, the gas pains after surgery for like the first few days, first week, it feels like your shoulders could get really hurt. And I even had like, I felt like there was gas trying to escape like through my neck muscles. It was really weird. And I have no idea if gas could get out your ear, but it was definitely trying for me. So you'll get some strange twinges of pain from gas pains. That's totally to be expected. And they tell you that too. after surgery. Another thing that I experienced after my latest surgery in 2021 was I had a post-operative fever, and they say for big surgeries, that's not uncommon as well. The In your discharge instructions, they'll usually tell you like if it's under a fever under this temperature, it's okay. It's to be expected. It's just the body from the trauma of your body undergoing the surgery. But if it's above a certain degree, and they'll tell you that as well, then you should maybe talk to your surgeon, just make sure nothing's infected in there. And I definitely I had the post-operative fever, waking up with some all sweaty, at night, a couple nights. Maybe it was like the second night after my surgery, and like maybe like the fourth night. So just be aware of that. I didn't have that for my 2019 surgery, but I did for my 2021 because it was a bigger surgery. They did a lot more work inside me. So, if it's not above whatever they told you, just don't worry too much about it. And I was on antibiotics too, so I knew the chances of an infection were pretty low. But be aware that you might have a post-operative fever as well. And for me, the most challenging thing, as far as pain-wise after surgery, was muscle spasms. And it's interesting too because I watched some videos before my surgery as well, like on YouTube, and like in the all the operative instructions that they give you before surgery and everything, none of them really mentioned muscle spasms. But for both of my surgeries, the muscle spasms that I got like in my chest and in my abdominal area were the most challenging part for me, and the most like they were definitely kind of excruciating when they happened. But remember, I didn't even take pain pills, so you will get through it. But it's like, because this last surgery I had 4 incisions, and the previous one I had 3 incisions. And when you've been cut up, you have other muscles trying to pick up the slack from where those other muscles that have been cut open can't really do their work. And they get those muscles that are spasming are just like, wow, we're not used to all this work here. And I don't know if it's too a combination of that and, gas under there, but when you have muscles that you never even knew you had muscles spasming. So for me, and that was the worst thing, because too in my surgery in 2019, I did take some pain pills for that, and it did not help with the muscle spasms. They just, once they get into that spasm mode, it's like they just laugh. Your muscles laugh at the pain pill and said, we're angry at you right now. It's not going to help. And so my spasms though were definitely a bit better for this last surgery in 2021. And again, I think that's because I was in better shape, like I said, for my second surgery. And also, one way that I seemed to manage them a bit better was through icing, because after my surgery, they gave me, for the second surgery in 2021, the nurse gave me an ice pack. And so, I said when I started getting those muscle spasms again, I iced myself, and I said, I'm going to try this because they gave me ice in the hospital. And that actually did seem to work, icing it whenever I got a bad muscle spasm again. And, what else did I do? Oh, also, like sometimes people say like massaging helps with muscle spasms, but when I tried that and my muscle just seemed really angry at me, it was already angry, and then just massaging it more just kind of seemed to make it more angry. But one thing that really helped me was just kind of putting gentle pressure over it. So wherever I was spasming, I like held it with like a gentle pressure, and that seemed to really support it and like comfort it rather than massaging. So for me, that was a way that I got rid of the really excruciating muscle spasms that I had. And so ice it, gentle pressure, hold it, kind of support it. So let it know, okay, it's okay. I'm helping you here. I'm here. Gentle pressure to make it feel a little better. Also, walking Like, even a big surgery, like I had 9 tumors removed, baseball size. The night of surgery, they encourage you to get up and walk around and walk as much as you feel comfortable with and you could tolerate. And I think I walked my 2021 surgery, which was the bigger surgery, I walked more and I walked more quickly, and more frequently. I should say, rather than quickly. You don't have to go at a fast pace, but I walked more frequently. I walked for longer periods, and they do say that helps. And in my experience, it did seem to help my recovery out a lot better. So you really, it doesn't seem like they encourage movement and, just listen to your body. But in my experience, when I walked more, I felt like my recovery was going a lot better. So walk as much as you could tolerate. And the first few weeks after my surgery, it was just in the house, just doing some laps in the house. I wasn't feeling, well enough to go outside. That's just me though. I was on blood thinners and I just had to be careful, not to poke myself on anything or I'm a bit klutzy, so I felt a little better just staying in the house. But walking as much as you can tolerate, a little bit of movement helps. Oh, another thing is that is especially important for laparoscopic surgery that really helps me out. The first week, I'd say, after laparoscopic surgery, for your abdominal surgery especially, is get a bed wedge. Like I have like a memory foam bed wedge that like raises my head up to about like a 45-degree angle. It goes up maybe about a foot, 18 inches or so. And that really helps you get out of bed because that first week after abdominal surgery or laparoscopic surgery, if you're trying to go from a flat position to like sitting up, if you're laying down and then you need to go to the bathroom or something, it's so hard. It's really hard. It's like it's really good to be up at a 45-degree angle because you're halfway there. You just feel like that first week after surgery, if you're lying in bed and you try and get up out of bed, you feel like a fish that's like thrown in a boat and you see how it's like flopping around. That's like me trying to, if I lay flat right after surgery, I'm like flopping around trying to like, flop out of bed somehow, but it's really challenging. I don't know if I would have been able to get out of bed the first couple days myself after surgery. If I didn't have that bed wedge, it'd have been tough and it would have taken a long time. Let's just say that. So I would definitely recommend a bed wedge and that definitely helps you. And of course, especially the first 24 hours after surgery, they tell you to have someone around with you to help you out with whatever you need. And so, have a trusted family member or friend, stay with you for, especially the first 24 hours, maybe the first few days they could stay with you or you could stay with them or, if any of those aren't options, definitely I'd recommend, hiring a in-home nurse for a few days just to make sure you're doing okay and that you could get everything you need, because especially too with just even with abdominal surgery or laparoscopic surgery, like simple stuff like opening a door is kind of hard and challenging to do yourself. Even like just carrying like a mug, a little mug that holds just like 12 ounces of fluid is really, it was hard. It felt so heavy. It felt like I had a ton of bricks in my hand. So just someone the first few days to help you out till you get stronger. But then, after that first week for me, I'm able to get out of bed pretty much easily, even if I'm laying flat and you could hold a mug without feeling like you're holding a ton of bricks. But you do have, just follow your doctor's instructions, no, at least for me, I haven't been to the point where I've been able to do, comfortably do jogging or anything. I haven't tried that. I'm going to hold off on that for a while, 2 months after surgery, but I'm doing quick walking, I'm comfortable with that. And, Yeah, so just and oh, I'm not supposed to do any heavy lifting still for a while, nothing over 25 pounds. So especially be careful with lifting stuff, don't get in any hurry to get back to your weightlifting routine. Just, realize that your body needs the time to heal and just walking, concentrate on walking and, getting your rest. Oh, and drinking a lot of fluids. They told me um, to really push fluids the first, couple days, especially after surgery, which totally wasn't easy since, like I said, you feel like a balloon that's going to explode already. And I don't even know. They told me to drink like a gallon of water a day for those first few days. And I tried to drink as much as I could. I don't know if I could even make a gallon because it's just like, I'm like, I'm gonna explode. I can't have anything else. I feel the pressure is so great, but as much water as you could drink and tolerate is definitely good for your healing and recovery. And so I think those are the main tips that I had for surgery recovery. Like I said, it all starts before surgery with being in the best shape that you could be, choosing a doctor that you feel comfortable with and keep seeing other surgeons until you are completely comfortable with whoever you choose. And then, after surgery, get assistance when you need it from trusted friends or family. Drink the water, take antibiotics as prescribed by your doctors if you are prescribed that. Pain pills. For me, I didn't, like I said, didn't take much, but that's just me personally. I truly think what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And it's just working up my physical and mental strength by not taking any pain pills. And like I said, it was my surgery was very, very invasive, and they prescribed me a lot of pain pills, but for me, I just wanted to power through it and know that you can and you will be okay, if you whatever you choose to do, whether you choose to take the pain pills or not, because it's a temporary, with surgery at least, it's a temporary discomfort, and the worst will be over in a few weeks. And like I said, get that bed wedge will really help you out, and follow your doctor's instructions, walk after surgery as much as you can tolerate, as much as you can, and you will be great and have a happy and successful surgery recovery. And I covered a lot in this video, but I want to hear all of your thoughts too. Like, what have you done that after a surgery that has really helped you, or what symptoms were you most surprised by, and how did you manage them? I want to hear all about that as well. So, yeah, please comment in the comments about that. And yes, and if you like this video, please like it and share it and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't yet. And also sign up for my free email newsletter if you're not on that, so that we can keep in touch and I could send you an email whenever I release my future YouTube videos. So, yes, I hope this video helps someone out there. Stay strong. You will be great. And yes, all right. Thank you so much. And I will see you in the next video.